Hello there my friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. And today really is an exciting one because we're returning to Skeleton Crew. Who would have thought we'd be returning to it this soon? Now you guys know, I love the show. I thought it was so sweet, really fun, love the characters, love Jude as Jude Nawood, and while I don't think we're going to get a season 2, at least not in the form of a Disney Plus show, I really don't think we've seen the last of these characters. The series wrapped up in a very interesting way. In some ways you could argue there isn't really space for a second season, but in others there are definitely mysteries which we want to learn more about. What's going to happen to Atatin now that the barrier is gone? Now that the New Republic knows about it, has presumably met the children, and what's going to happen to Jude? Well, today we have some updates. The first is a rumour that you must take with a huge pinch of salt, but the two main reasons I'm giving it any credence is because, first of all, this guy's been a bit more reliable in recent weeks. Daniel RPK did get some of the Star Wars Starfighter movie casting details right before they were officially announced. And secondly, even if this isn't true or not confirmed yet, it's certainly something I can see Lucasfilm and Dave Filoni in particular doing. According to the rumour, Jude Nawood is going to feature in multiple Star Wars projects. My reaction? Heck yeah, I love this character. He's an anti-hero but not fully a villain. He's driven by the trauma of his past. He thought he was meant to be a Jedi. He wasn't a survivor of Order 66, but his master who found him was. He's jealous of Wim, Neil, Fern and KB, and the childhood they have, the parents they have, people who care for them, and the privilege of living on Atatin, a planet which to many was just a myth. And so because the Mandoverse is going to continue in Ahsoka Season 2, in the Mandalorian and Grogu, in Dave Filoni's movie, there are other spin-offs which we've heard rumblings about, and if the rumours are true that we're going to get this big kind of endgame style event, then it makes sense to have some of these characters from all of the shows return. Not just Skeleton Crew but Book of Boba Fett, and like I say, Ahsoka. I don't think we're ever going to get a direct sequel to Skeleton Crew, but it makes sense if these characters appear elsewhere in other Mandoverse projects, as supporting characters, which inadvertently brings attention to Skeleton Crew. So maybe the viewership, which wasn't great at first, could increase over time. I'm saying this as a Brit, so of course I'm biased and it might not sound as impressive to Americans, but Jude is a phenomenal legendary actor, and I thought Jude, his character, was a great addition to the Star Wars universe, so I hope he appears again. And the second update we have for Skeleton Crew, my friends, comes in the form of a brand new Galactic Map. StarWars.com have released the most expansive canon map to date, updated to include all the new planets from the new shows and the Disney Star Wars films. It's really impressive, if not a little bit overwhelming, so I'm going to take you through some of the highlights, and the way that this map might have just teased a dark future for the characters from Skeleton Crew. So let's take a lookity-roo. Never said that before in my life, made me sound Australian, but anyway. So we have the deep core, the colonies, the inner rim, the expansion region, the mid-rim, the outer rim, the different sectors, and the unknown regions.
I made smoke.
Now I spent a good couple of hours looking at every specific on this map, and some of it made me scratch my head, because they've positioned some of the new worlds in very specific locations, and it makes you wonder if there's a plot reason for it, mysteries that might be unveiled in future projects. The best example of this is the location of Atatin.
Can't say I remember no Atatin.
Are you ready for this? It's crazy, my friends. The jewel of the Old Republic that was protected by a barrier for generations. A world which has been the intrigue of pirates, the Jedi, maybe even the Sith. At one point, well, guess where they've placed it? On the doorstep of Grand Admiral Thrawn, Dathomir, where he now resides with the Grey Mothers. And now that the barrier is gone, guess who's probably going to show up and take over the world? Thrawn, a man fascinated by history, by artifacts, by cultures. You don't think he's going to be fascinated by this incredible gem who's literally his next door neighbour? And I was thinking about this and I thought to myself, why does all of this sound familiar? And then it came back to me. When I was covering Skeleton Crew, I made a theory video about this. I spoke about the Night Sister imagery on the map of the Jewels of the Old Republic that Kim the Owl showed the kids. Maybe once upon a time the Night Sisters were involved in the development of Atatin. Could this come back to be very important in Ahsoka Season 2? And the reason I say this is at the Ahsoka panel during Star Wars Celebration, Dathomir was an integral part of the concept art for Season 2. So maybe this was a Dave Filoni decision. Maybe he told Pablo Hidalgo and some of the other holocron keepers at Lucasfilm that you need to put these two worlds together. Atatin is literally right next door. It might have been an ancient Night Sister planet, And with all of the reveals about Peridea being a home for the Night Sisters and the Zepho once upon a time, maybe there's something about Atatin. I can absolutely envision a story where the kids are all grown up. In a few years' time, they're teenagers or young adults, and in a very similar way to It Chapter 2, they go back to their home planet and they do their best to fight off the evil there. And it's not the only planet which, just by coincidence, is right next to Dathomir. So is Mandalore, a little bit further away, but very near it. And so I'm seeing how Filoni and Favreau are connecting the Mandoverse. I'm starting to see into the future, and I'm starting to get a sense of what they're trying to achieve, connecting all these stories together. And you know, my friends, I don't mean to ramble on about this, but with the news or the rumour that Jude might be returning, it seems like everyone's going to come back before Temuera Morrison does as Boba Fett. It's a tad depressing, isn't it? Temuera Morrison really deserves to come back. And I don't just mean for a vocal cameo or a 2-second video game appearance. But there are some other big details that we need to talk about. In addition to being the greatest live-action TV show, Andor brought us a ton of new planets, and now they've been added to the new Galactic Map. If you want to talk about foreshadowing, Narkina 5 is right next to Scarif. Wrap your head around this for just a moment. The place in which Cassian gets imprisoned and builds parts for the Death Star which will ultimately kill him is next to the location of his death. The irony is insane, and probably a retrospective decision. We also learn how some planets manage to hide from the Empire. A great example is Parbu, the beautiful planet from the Bad Batch, the place where Clone Force 99 retires. We now know it's located deep in the Outer Rim, which explains why it became such a haven. Similarly, another example is the Lasat homeworld of Lyra Sun. It exists in world space. And if you think back to Star Wars Rebels, the planet can only be reached by performing a magical ritual that allows you to traverse into an otherwise deadly nebula. Another crucial planet from Rebels is Atolon, which is surprisingly near to Lothal and Mon Cala. And finally, my friends, we need to talk about the locations which have been deliberately excluded. This has been explained by Lucasfilm themselves, through Jason Fry. Any planet that's been described as extragalactic doesn't feature, so if you're looking for Peridea, the second galaxy, you're not going to find it. Same deal with the other hidden treasures of the Old Republic from Skeleton Crew. And Brendok, the home of the Force Witch Coven from the Acolyte, is also not on the map. I'm also pretty fascinated by the unknown regions, how much of the galaxy has not been explored, and how far away Luke Skywalker isolated himself in the sequel trilogy. Look how far away Ahch-To is from everything we know, the birthplace of the Jedi Order. I also love the incorporation and scale of Hutt space, just how much of the galaxy they have a monopoly on, and with Rot of the Hutt coming back in the Mandalorian and Grogu, I hope we get to see it in live action. There are also some pretty cool connections to worlds from Star Wars Legends. It's been really fun to analyse, but with that said, my dear friends, do you want to see Skeleton Crew come back, even if it's just the characters in a different show or a different movie? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.